You are carrying around the most powerful, mysterious, slightly dramatic machine in the universe, and it weighs about 3 pounds. It can imagine the future, replay embarrassing moments from 2009 at 2 a.m., recognize your mom's voice in a crowded store, and somehow still forget why you walked into the kitchen. Yeah, we're talking about your brain. Today, we're diving into neuroscience, what's actually happening inside your head, how your brain shapes your thoughts, habits, personality, and why it sometimes feels like it has a mind of its own. And don't worry, this isn't going to sound like a medical textbook fell asleep on your face. We're keeping it simple, real, human. Let me start with something wild. Your brain runs on electricity. Every thought you've ever had, every crush, every fear, every "why did I say that" moment is basically tiny electrical signals firing between billions of cells called neurons. Imagine a city at night. Lights turning on and off, signals moving everywhere, traffic flowing. That's your brain. Except instead of cars, it's electrical impulses. Instead of roads, it's neural pathways. And here's the crazy part. Those pathways change. Your brain is not a fixed piece of hardware. It rewires itself constantly. This ability is called neuroplasticity. It means your brain physically changes based on what you repeatedly think and do. So when you practice something, playing guitar, speaking confidently, worrying too much, scrolling for hours, you're strengthening certain neural pathways. Your brain basically says, "Oh, we're doing this a lot? Cool, let me make this easier for you." That's why habits feel automatic after a while. You built a brain highway for them. Now let's talk about something we all deal with, overthinking. Ever notice how your brain loves to replay awkward moments? You wave at someone who wasn't waving at you. You call your teacher mom. You send a text to the wrong group chat. And your brain goes, "Let's analyze this for the next 6 business days." Why? Because your brain's #1 job is survival. Way back in human history, if you made a social mistake and got kicked out of the tribe, that could literally mean danger. So your brain evolved to be extremely sensitive to social threats. The problem is, modern life is not a cave, but your brain still acts like it is. That's why a small embarrassment can feel like you're being hunted by a tiger. Speaking of survival, let's talk about the amygdala. The amygdala is like your brain's alarm system. It scans for threats and sends out warning signals. Fast, very fast, sometimes too fast. You hear a loud noise? Boom, your heart jumps. Someone gives you a weird look? Boom, anxiety spike. Your amygdala doesn't wait for full analysis. It reacts first, asks questions later. Luckily, you also have the prefrontal cortex. That's the more rational, logical part of your brain right behind your forehead. Think of the amygdala as the dramatic friend who says, "We're doomed," and the prefrontal cortex as the calm friend who says, "Relax, it's just a text message." Neuroscience shows that when you pause before you react, you're giving your prefrontal cortex time to step in and balance the emotional alarm. That pause, that's power. Now here's something fascinating. Your brain doesn't experience reality directly. It predicts it. Based on past experiences, your brain constantly makes guesses about what's about to happen. Then it compares those guesses to incoming information. If your brain expects rejection, it may interpret neutral faces as negative. If your brain expects success, it may interpret challenges as opportunities. Your perception is partly prediction, which means 2 people can walk into the same room and experience 2 completely different realities. Same room, different brains. Now let's talk about dopamine for a second. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but that's not exactly accurate. Dopamine is more about motivation and anticipation. It spikes when you expect a reward. That's why checking your phone feels addictive. Your brain anticipates something interesting, a like, a message, a notification. Sometimes there's nothing, but the anticipation alone is enough to keep you checking again. Your brain loves uncertainty with potential reward. It's basically a slot machine in your pocket. Now here's the hopeful part. The same brain that builds bad habits can build powerful ones. When you repeat positive behaviors, exercise, learning, practicing gratitude, you strengthen those circuits. At first, it feels hard because the pathway is small, but repetition lays down thicker wiring. It's like carving a trail through grass. The first time, it's tough. After walking it every day, it becomes a clear path. That's neuroscience in action. Let's talk about memory. Your brain does not store memories like a video camera. It reconstructs them. Every time you remember something, you slightly rewrite it. Your current emotions influence how the memory feels. That's why two siblings can remember the same childhood event completely differently. Your brain isn't lying on purpose. It's rebuilding the memory based on meaning, which means your past is not as fixed as you think. Even trauma research shows that reframing experiences can literally reduce emotional intensity because you're changing how the brain stores and accesses the memory. Your brain is dynamic. Now let's address stress. When you're stressed, your body releases cortisol. In short bursts, that's helpful. It sharpens focus. But chronic stress, that's different. Long-term stress can weaken connections in areas responsible for memory and decision-making, which explains why when you're overwhelmed, you forget simple things like why you opened the fridge or what day it is. Your brain under stress is prioritizing survival, not grocery organization. That's not weakness, that's biology. Now here's something empowering though: sleep. Sleep is not laziness, it's brain maintenance. During sleep, your brain cleans waste products, strengthens important memories, and resets emotional circuits. Ever notice how problems feel 10 times worse at night, then slightly more manageable in the morning? That's because your emotional brain is louder when you're exhausted. A well-rested brain is a more balanced brain. Now let's talk about identity. Your brain creates a sense of you, but neuroscience suggests that this self is more flexible than we think. Different brain networks activate when you think about yourself, your past, your future. Your identity is not one solid block. It's a process happening moment by moment. That's powerful because it means you're not stuck being the person you were 5 years ago. Your brain is constantly updating the you file. And here's something simple but profound. Attention shapes the brain. Whatever you consistently focus on grows stronger. If you constantly focus on problems, your brain becomes better at spotting problems. If you focus on learning, your brain becomes better at learning. Attention is like sunlight. It grows whatever it touches. So the question becomes, what are you feeding your brain daily? Complaints? Comparison? Curiosity? Creativity? Your brain adapts either way. Now I want you to think about this. Right now, as you're listening to this, neurons are firing. New connections may be forming. Tiny physical changes are happening in your brain. You are literally reshaping your own biology just by paying attention. That's not motivational fluff. That's neuroscience. Your brain is not your enemy. It's not broken. It's not random. It's adaptive. Sometimes overly cautious, sometimes dramatic, sometimes obsessed with snacks, but adaptive. The more you understand how it works, the less controlled you feel by it. Instead of saying, "Why am I like this?" you start asking, "What pathway have I been strengthening?" And that shift changes everything. Because once you realize your brain is constantly wiring and rewiring based on repetition, you stop seeing yourself as fixed. You start seeing yourself as in progress. So next time your brain overreacts, overthinks, or replays something embarrassing for the 100th time, remember, it's not trying to ruin your life. It's trying to protect you using ancient programming. But you're not in a cave anymore. You're in control of what you practice, and what you practice, your brain becomes. That 3-pound machine inside your skull, it's not just reacting to your life, it's building it. And every thought, habit, and choice is laying down the next wire. The question is, what kind of brain are you training right now?